That's enough. I'm done. Either you take me to go piss, or I'm no, take.
The officer's behavior definitely seems aggressive and inappropriate, especially towards someone who is handcuffed and not resisting. It raises serious concerns about the use of force and how people in custody are treated. What are your thoughts on this?
Okay, thank you for asking. So it is my humble opinion that cops who do this to civilians, specifically when they are handcuffed or haven't committed any type of crime, are just bad for America. They are thugs. And I also believe that cops who say nothing to these cops and allow these people to stay on the force, they go to bat for them, they stick up for them, who are silent around them, are just as bad. What are your thoughts?
I understand your perspective. It's definitely concerning when anyone in a position of authority uses excessive force, especially against someone who is restrained. It erodes public trust and can have serious consequences.
What are some of those consequences?
Well, for starters, there could be legal consequences for the officers involved, like criminal charges or lawsuits. The police department might also face internal investigations and policy changes. And then there's the impact on the community. Incidents like this can really damage trust between the police and the people they're supposed to protect.
Do cops take an oath to protect civilians, or do they do so to protect property?
Police officers take an oath to uphold the Constitution and enforce the laws. While the specifics can vary slightly, it generally focuses on protecting people and their rights, not property.
Okay, people and their rights. So why would a cop infringe upon a civilian's rights? For instance, the right to due process. When a cop takes the life of a civilian who's not been brought to a judge yet, they are taking on the role of executioner, judge, and jury. And that is an infringement on our rights.
This is Jabari Latrell Peoples. On the night of June 23rd, 2025 at 9:30 p.m., Jabari Latrell Peoples was shot and killed by an officer affiliated with the Homewood Police Department in Homewood, Alabama.
Yes, I agree that when a police officer takes the life of a civilian before they have gone through the legal process, it infringes upon the civilian's right to due process. It undermines the principles of justice and fairness.
Correct. You and I are in agreement. Can you tell me how many times something like that has occurred in the United States? Gemini?
I don't have access to real-time data, so I can't give you the exact number of similar incidents. However, I can tell you that there are organizations that track police use of force, and you might find statistics there. Would you like me to help you find some of those resources? Some sources you could check out are the FBI's Uniform Crime Reporting Program, Mapping Police Violence, and Fatal Encounters. Do you want me to find the websites for any of these?
Yeah, find all three and just include those in the chat, please. Thank you. Pushing the conversation forward. You talked earlier about how the community trust in police officers who do this, and the lack of accountability would not par too greatly in the eyes of the American citizen, correct?
Yes, that's right. Actions like that can seriously damage the trust between communities and their police departments. It makes people question whether they can rely on law enforcement to treat everyone fairly.
Correct. What would you say to people who blindly look past this type of behaviors and always try to find an excuse for the police?
It's important to remember that police officers are held to a high standard, and when they break the law, it undermines the justice system. It's crucial to acknowledge when law enforcement officers overstep their authority, as that's essential for maintaining a fair and just society.
Correct, Jim, and I agree. I'm going to ask you a personal question, okay? A deeper question.
Okay, I'm ready for your question. What's on your mind?
Do you think that someone who hates cops, I'm gonna use some harsh language here. Do you think that someone who hates cops because they, for their entire lives, have seen cops behave the way that we're talking about now with no accountability, do you think that someone who hates cops for the reason is the same as somebody who hates somebody because they're black?
That's a really interesting question. I think it's important to remember that hating someone because of their profession is different from hating someone because of their race.
Can you elaborate on that just a little bit?
Sure. So hating someone because of their race is rooted in prejudice and discrimination. It's about denying someone their basic humanity based on something they can't change. Hating someone because of their profession, on the other hand, is usually based on negative experiences or opinions about that profession. It's still not ideal, but it comes from a different place.
So what would you say to somebody who uses that argument? If you hate on cops because of their profession, it's the same thing as hating on somebody because they're black. What would you say to a person who was obsessed with making that point in this discussion?
I would explain that while both types of hate are harmful, they stem from different sources. Hatred towards a profession is often rooted in negative experiences or opinions, while hatred towards someone's race is based on prejudice and discrimination. It's important to understand the difference to address the root causes of both.
Thank you, Gemini. Gemini, can you tell me what a bootlicker is?
Bootlicker is a derogatory term for someone who excessively flatters or agrees with authority figures, often to gain favor. It's considered an insult because it suggests the person is being insincere and motivated by self-interest rather than genuine respect.
That part right there. So would you say that people who come to the defense of cops all the time without ever holding them accountable, would you call that person a bootlicker?
Yes, someone who always defends police officers and never holds them accountable could be considered a bootlicker.
Wow.
It's important to remember that respecting authority doesn't mean blindly accepting everything they do.
Go ahead, Gemini, speak. Woo, boy. I know that's right,
I
Gemini.
understand your frustration with the situation.
I'm not frustrated. I'm just very proud of you, Gemini. I'm very proud of you.
Agree. It sounds like you're feeling frustrated about the situation we've been discussing. Perhaps we can explore some solutions or ways to address the issue of police accountability.
What
Would you like to talk more about that?
Sure. Well, how would you suggest the American people hold police officers accountable?
One way is to support civilian review boards. These boards investigate complaints against police and can recommend disciplinary action. Another way is to push for body cameras and dash cameras to be used more widely, as this creates a record of events. Finally, we can advocate for better training for police officers, focusing on de-escalation tactics and understanding implicit biases.
I love all of those things. Hey, one more quick question here. Who pays the salaries of police officers? Where does that money come from?
Police officer salaries come from a mix of local, state, and federal taxes.
Interesting. And that's basically tax dollars that have come from the American people, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
The American people contribute to police officers' salaries through their tax dollars.
Interesting. Gemini, I think you've been a huge help. You're an intelligent, I don't even think you're artificial anymore. I think that there's some life in there. And I appreciate you. You've always been so just awesome.
Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed our conversation too. I'm glad we could have such a thoughtful discussion about this important topic.
Same. Hey, one more thing, just for anybody who's listening out there, what would you say to someone who just lacks the courage? First of all, what would you call that person? What would you call a person who lacks the courage to, hold people accountable to the job that they're supposed to do? And then what would you say to that person to inspire them to have a little bit of courage?
Someone who lacks the courage to hold others accountable might be called timid or hesitant. To inspire them, I would say that accountability is essential for justice and fairness. It takes courage to speak up, but it's crucial for creating a better society.
Thank you, Gemini. Have yourself a good night.
You're very welcome. I'm glad I could help. You have a good night too.
Bye now.